I'm Cindy Bokser, and you are listening to the Fiber Artist Podcast, where we chat with artists, makers, and creatives who work with fiber, get to know their stories, how they came upon their fiber practice, and more about the person behind the work. Today, we get to know London Kaye, a crochet artist who has done super cool stuff like covering an entire school bus with crochet for Gap, crocheted a vibrant floor-to-ceiling display window installation for the Red Valentino store in Rome, and whose work, if you live in New York City or LA, you might have even passed on the streets with one of her many, many yarn bombs. She's an incredible artist and was so fun to chat with. But first, don't forget my lovely fiber friends. I have a shop and I sell yarn and rope for macrame and weaving. You can get 15% off my shop at niromastudio.com. The code is the Fiber Artist Podcast, and you can go get yourself some of that fiber goodness. And by the way, I don't know why I have not mentioned this basically since like the very first episode, maybe, but if you have any questions or you want me to ask certain questions to my guests, or if you want to reach out to suggest guests, or if you want to sponsor the podcast or know someone who does, shoot me an email at thefiberartistpodcast@gmail.com. I honestly don't need to be plugging my own shop all the time, so feel free to get in touch. Okay, I think that is all of our admin stuff taken care of. Here is London Kaye. Hi, London. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time. I will say that like talking to you is a little bit different because you're actually like a new Instagram person that I've just recently started following, and I am so excited to get into your story. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here today.
Awesome. So if you could just kind of start out and let people know. So, I will have already introduced you as sort of a street artist, yarn bomber, crochet artist. Can you tell me just a little bit about your background and how did you get to this point in life, which is like so amazing?
I never would have dreamed that this is where I'd be at this point in life, but I've always loved to crochet. I started crocheting when I was 13, and like right from the start, it was just something that like calmed me down, kept me at peace because I was very active. Like I grew up dancing, doing ballet and gymnastics and running around. So for some reason, crochet kept me like calm, which was really nice.
Who taught you?
My friend's mom taught me on a whim. I'm still friends with her now.
Oh,
like
that's so awesome.
One of my best friends growing up. So her mom taught me, and she taught me with a really big crochet hook and a really chunky yarn. So I started making scarves really, really fast.
Yeah, that's the best. Oh my gosh. That's how I learned too, like on big stuff where you can have like immediate gratification.
That's the whole point. So often you hear like I started a scarf 6 years ago and never finished. So this is a way to like get it done.
Yeah, definitely. So where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I'm from Los Angeles. I grew up, we moved a lot around like Southern California growing up, but I'm from here and I just moved back here about a year ago. So I'm coming from downtown LA in the Arts District, and it has a very Brooklyn vibe here.
It totally does. So were you living in Brooklyn before that?
I was.
Okay.
I lived in New York for the 10 years prior to this.
Damn,
so I'm
girl.
a good mix.
Yeah, we could have known each other in a previous life, I guess. I'm in New Jersey now, but I lived in Brooklyn for a while. Cool. So let's go back to so you learned when you were 13 years old, you learned how to crochet, and did you like continue doing it all through your sort of college life? Oh no, I'm losing you. Oh, you're back.
We're back.
Okay. Sorry. We lost connection for a little bit. So I'm going to re-ask that.
Perfect.
Yeah. So were you continuing to crochet like from the minute you learned, or did you sort of put it down and let other things take over for a while? And how was, through high school, and I don't know if you went to college or tell me all about that part.
You got it. So I didn't put it down. I started crocheting when 7th grade or so, and dancing at the same time. And I got a really bad back injury in 9th grade, and I couldn't dance for a whole year. I usually don't say, but I broke my back in 2 places. So it was like serious.
Wow.
Had to wear a brace, the whole deal.
Did you break it dancing, or was it doing something else?
Yeah, I danced like very competitively. So it was from all the banging of like the gymnastics on the dance floor, and yeah.
Wow.
So crazy. Luckily, because I was so young, it was like, okay, if you stop dancing, things can heal. So
Yeah.
I stopped for a year and I started selling scarves and I went crazy. I sold so many scarves. I was able to buy my car when I was 16 from
Damn,
scarf
girl.
money.
That's
It wasn't,
amazing.
thank you, nothing fancy by any means, but like right from the start, I like kind of thought of crochet as more than just something to relax, as more of like a business.
Right. Not so much a hobby, but straight into a business.
Yeah, and people would like pick their color scarves. Like girls at my dance studio would do like red and white stripes for the Candy Cane dance and the Nutcracker, and like everything was customized.
Oh,
So it was a really fun way to do it.
yeah, that's so cool. Were you selling only to people in person or were you also selling online?
Oh my goodness, no. Back then, I guess when I started, I was not selling online. It was just in person, and then I went to different stores around my like community,
Okay.
and so little shops bought my scarves too, and like, yeah, I sold my first scarf for $2.
Oh, that's
It
so
went up. It
fun.
went up from there.
Yeah.
But once I was able to go back dancing, I couldn't do it to the same level that I was like doing it before.
Right.
But crochet went to the back burner again. I ended up getting a full scholarship for dance to college at NYU.
Oh, wow. That's
And
amazing.
it was like, so I was so grateful to be able to like go to school in such a fun way. But I always knew dancing wouldn't be my career because of the injury that I had had before.
Right, right.
So that was kind of my journey to New York. Crochet was no more. But I like still loved it.
Right, right. But I'm sure you're like so busy with school. And since you were there for dance, you were probably, rehearsing a ton and doing, yeah.
Exactly. And was in college.
Right.
So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I had other priorities.
Yeah. Not just in college, but in college in New York City, in the East Village. Like, forget it.
Yeah, it was the year the first iPhone came out, and I like saved all my money to like, or because I had bought the car, no more scarf
Right,
money.
right.
I like got that first iPhone, and it like showed you how to get around like with Google Maps.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have that, I don't know what I would have done.
Uh,
But
yeah, I moved to New York right before that. I guess it was probably, I don't know, a few years before that, and I was still using like the fold out accordion, um, a train map or whatever, and it was just
oh
like,
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about, just like the MTA map. It was
it's
hard. It was hard.
necessary.
Yeah, especially in the West Village, which is a complete maze
Mhm.
to me still. Like I still don't know. I just get lost.
Same.
Yeah,
Sometimes there's certain parts in New York I still get lost. Yeah, and
completely.
that is for sure one of them.
So funny. Okay, so you're in NYU. Did you dance the whole time you were there, like all 4 years, or?
I did the dance program. Blah, 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 blah. The dance program at NYU is 3 years, and you
Okay.
stay for the 2 summers to make up for your fourth year because they
Oh,
want girls out and dancing.
right.
Um, so it was really cool to kind of get through college, get to experience New York for those full kind of 3 years like that.
Yeah.
And I still crocheted, but like not really thinking anything more of it than a hobby that usually people older than me do.
Right. 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 Just something you like, and you probably had like unfinished projects in the corner, and
Right.
yeah,
So always a stash pile is like piling up of random things that I make because it
yeah,
really is a great way to just like relax and
yeah.
be free.
Totally. And also, like at the end of it, have something to show for that time. I don't know about you,
Right.
but for me, that was like a big thing. I was like, oh, the results, like my something tangible I can hold.
Oh, it's so great.
Yeah. Okay. So what happened next? You go through
Okay.
school, and then you stayed in New York for a few more years. It sounds like.
Oh yeah. So after that, moved to Brooklyn, started working at the Apple store. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but I always loved technology. So I thought, okay, if I can get like a job out of college and support myself, that would be great. So I got a job working there. And about 2 years into that, I was getting really like frustrated that I wasn't doing more. I always felt like I would do something more creative.
Yeah.
So I started writing like lists of all the things that I just love to do. And it'd be like crochet, Photoshop, collaging, like random things. But crocheting was always at the top of that list. And one night, really late, working at Apple, there was an artist that came in and she had a crazy crocheted bag. Her name is Oleg. I feel like people listening to this podcast may know.
I know her. I have a funny Oleg story to tell you, but keep going, keep going.
I'd love to hear. So I didn't know who she was at the time, but I was like starstruck. We were about to close, just like I was when I met you. So the store was about to close, so no one was really in there. And she went over to get the computer like set up. And I was the girl who helped people set up computers that night. And so we briefly talked. And right when she left the store, I like Googled her name because we had thousands of computers around.
Yeah.
And somehow through that Google, I discovered something called yarn bombing. And at that time, it was simply like wrapping a tree in crochet or knit fabric, really. And a light bulb just went off. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to do this. So that was a big moment.
Yes. Oh my God, I love that. What year was this? Was this like?
This was 2013.
Okay. So cool. So yeah, because that's around the time when I discovered yarn bombing as well. But yeah, keep going.
Okay. And through that, I found out yarn bombing was first kind of invented by Magda Saeed. She's based out of Austin, Texas. And I think it was in like 2005. She took a tiny piece of crochet and wrapped it, or knit, I think she knit, around the doorknob of her yarn shop. And people just started talking about it. So that's kind of where it started.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Even 2013, though, was kind of like very early for this. There were so few people doing it. But I went home and I had that stockpile of like crocheted goodness sitting in my corner. I grabbed this lime green scarf with this like hideous pink border and I ran outside, tied it around in Brooklyn, just a tree on my corner, and crocheted it to the tree and like left a tag with my like email so people could figure out who did it.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, okay, this will be ripped down tomorrow. It's Bed-Stuy. It's like going to be late at night. Someone's going to want it as a blanket or a scarf. So be it. But the next day it was still there. And within that first week, somebody reached out to me saying, me and my granddaughter stop at your tree every day. We talk about it. It makes our morning. Like, thank you.
Oh my God. That's so awesome.
I lit up. I was like, yes, I need to do more. So I gave myself a 30-day challenge. Sorry if I'm rambling.
No, this is exactly what I love. Keep going.
Okay. I gave myself a 30-day challenge, and every day for 30 days, I was going to put something outside and leave it there for people to enjoy, just to like see if this is something I really like to do. I was in that process of self-discovery.
Yeah.
And listening to these TED Talks, and like, if you do something for 30 days, it becomes a habit. And I thought if I could do it for 30 days, then that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And Instagram was like, I mean, I had like a personal Instagram, but it was so early on the Instagram page. But I started my account and for these yarn bombs, and every day I posted a different thing. And it just continued to go from there.
So it would be like different pieces placed in a public setting, like all around Brooklyn or around New York City.
Exactly. Okay. Like, and all I do is like really single crochet. All I knew how to make was a scarf. Like I was not trained at all with all that. So it started out with like scarves around trees. And then I learned to like make a heart and I hung it up on a fence. And then I learned to like write. So like chaining and like making birds. And it was just like 4th of July was a big one because I was like, I want to make an American flag. And I'd never made anything like that. So all these things kind of like kept pushing me to try new things. And by the end of the challenge, I didn't stop at 30 days. I stopped at 50. And it was like a girl leaping on a fence.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah. So it was really cool to get to kind of figure out my own style and what I was doing. And there was no one to look at or kind of mimic at that time.
Right.
So it was like truly an original kind of thing happening.
Yeah. And like a real, like a real art project for yourself to figure out how you're going to like where you're going to take it and how far you can evolve it. And because 50 days of doing anything for 12 days in a row is hard, let alone 30, let alone 50. So you must have felt like you were growing so much during that time. Were you working at the same time? Like, were you still at Apple while you were doing
Oh
this?
yeah.
Okay.
Full-time Apple. I would do it before work, after work, at lunch breaks,
Oh
like
my God, that's so fun.
all, yeah. I worked at Apple a total of 5 years. So
Oh,
this was
wow.
2 years, 2.5 years in probably. And then I was still worked full time for a year, then went part time for a year, and then finally quit.
Okay. So
So
what was your mindset while you were there when because you're working, but you're also you're probably spending just like an equal amount of hours on your crocheting for this project. Like, did you feel like while you were at your day job, you were constantly thinking about crochet, or was it like, did you feel like you had a plan with it?
I didn't feel like I had a plan with it. I like 14 hours sitting and crocheting is like my ideal day of my life. So it was almost like I couldn't wait to like get to start on these sorts of things. Like it was
Yeah.
so exciting to be able to be doing something really fulfilling with crochet because yes, I liked making scarves, but it wasn't like so exciting. This just like, I mean, still, I can't wait to like be able to start crocheting my next project. So it's
Yeah.
I really am passionate about it, which helps.
That's so awesome. How did you think of like things to crochet and things to create? Like, did they just come to you, or how did you? I mean, doing like 50 of them, it's like it's a lot of brainstorming, I think, like to think of what to do next. So how did you come up with those ideas?
New York is such an inspiring city. I think that had a lot to do with it. And like the just concrete kind of jungle of Brooklyn, like there's
Yeah.
so many possibilities. I remember one of them that I did early on was like a statue of Muhammad Ali. It's like a small
Oh,
statue in
wow.
front of a shop, nothing like super legit or anything. So I'm not saying I'm like breaking the law.
No,
Um,
no.
but I like two beanies on his boxing gloves. Like those two beanies I had made probably 3 years prior to that, and they were just sitting in my house. So it, I saw the statue, connected it with things that I had in my stockpile, and like then was able to execute it in a way that I never dreamed of when I was making it. So it was kind of more of a puzzle back then.
Hmm.
After that, and now like that, then nobody was even watching me. Like it was so cool. I didn't have to worry. There was no pressure. Anything was
Right,
like
right.
perfect or good or one was better than the next. Like that didn't matter.
Yeah, this was all just for
Uh,
you, which was pretty cool. Yeah.
yeah. But by the end of that challenge, like someone had reached out. I got to do accessories for a fashion show at New York Fashion Week. They needed some
Already.
crocheted
That's so
so
cool.
so there were like these little things that like also kept me doing it, which helped too. Because I think if like no one was like, if people were like negative towards it, I
Right.
wouldn't have continued.
Right. So with each piece that you put out there, you put a tag on it that so that
Yeah,
people could find you.
definitely.
Yeah.
And another one of the projects that came in pretty early on, I made this like really beautiful. Not to brag.
No,
Oh,
no, no, please.
it was
I'm
a
sure.
very big big like snowflake, and it was snowing that day, and it was just on a fence in Bed-Stuy,
Oh,
huge.
wow.
And a buyer from this shop called ABC Carpet and Home happened to live right there on the corner, and they were doing a window display, and they're like, we would love some of these in our window. And it was
That's
just like
amazing. Okay, because ABC,
it,
people who are not in New York or whatever, but this shop is like in Union Square. It's like one of the, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like Anthropologie Home come to life, but like times 1,000.
it's yeah,
It's amazing.
huge.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that were like, we could sell these for X amount. And I was like, that's how much I make in a week
Yeah.
working at Apple. What am I doing?
Oh my God, that's so
So
awesome.
that was another like nice light bulb moment where it was just another sign like, okay, unconventional crochet has a lot of places uh,
Yeah.
in this world that I never dreamed of.
Yeah. So what did ABC, they took the piece, you made pieces for their window display, but then also made pieces to sell?
Yeah.
That's so
So
cool.
they still have some dream catchers there. Like I'll send them different things or switch them out, but they've been a great client since the beginning.
Wow. So you're still working with them. That's so awesome. Okay, so tell me, so this starts to evolve. At what point do you decide, and I'm assuming now this is your full-time, like you're a full-time artist, full-time crochet artist.
Yeah, full-time crochet all day, every day. I've been full-time doing this now for about 3.5 years.
Okay. And how did you decide to make that, to make the leap?
Oh my gosh, I had every excuse in the book. Like, it's like, what about health insurance? What about my discount off computers? What about like anything just to like not leave? But I was able to get a project. This is like still one of the biggest projects I've ever done. It was a crocheted billboard in Times Square, 50 feet by 25 feet, all crocheted. They needed it in 3 weeks.
Oh my
And so
God.
I went to Apple and I was like, you know what? I think it's time.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
gotta go. And by this point, they knew what I was doing. I wasn't there nearly as much as I was before. But I'm so happy that I had that while I was doing this, or else I don't know, like I wouldn't have been able to stay as authentic or like really truly do what I want to do. I would have
Yeah.
maybe been doing it just to be able to pay rent.
Right,
So
right.
it was really lucky to have them for all those years. And then, yeah, now have been on my own for
That,
a long time.
that's amazing. So, you've had like a buttload of like big corporate clients. How did those usually come about, and how do you feel like they discovered you?
Generally, I did this video once where I crocheted poles on the subway of the L train, and it was Valentine's Day, and I hung up a bunch of hearts. It is surprising how many people see that and will be like, "I saw you on
Wow.
the." But usually, it's through my website. People will reach out with different like inquiries or projects, things that they're looking for, and I just go from there. But when I got an email and it was signed the House of Valentino, I thought it was a joke. Like, I was like, there's no way that they are reaching out to me right now. But they saw the video of the YouTube subway
Oh
yarn
my
bomb.
God. You guys can, if you're not watching this video, you guys, you can, and you're only listening to podcasts, my jaw is like on the floor. I would have fucking died. Like,
Oh,
yeah.
I did not believe it until long into our email. It took a Skype call for me to believe that this was happening with
Yeah.
them. So
Oh my God. So
that was a
what did you end up doing with them?
it's really crazy. There's a lot of similarities between Wendy, Chen, and myself. They're not similarities, but they kind of
Hmm.
are. Like Apple and things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
totally.
uh, I what they did 14 different window displays around the world of crocheted backdrops. Did a capsule collection with them that launched in their store in London, where I got to go and live crochet a
Oh
window
my
display
God.
and launch the collection. And then also did another like live crochet event in Rome where I hung up window displays. And it was just so fun.
That's exhilarating. Oh my gosh. So do you
It
find that
was.
you're y- so you got to travel a lot with them. Have you been able to do more traveling since then for projects?
Oh my gosh, yes, that's my favorite part is traveling, no matter where it is. I just got back from a project in Toronto, hanging up a large angel wing installation for Mental Health Awareness Month out
That's
there.
so cool. I saw
And
that on your Instagram. It was so beautiful and such a like good
thank
photo
you.
op too.
It is. um, but that project was particularly wonderful because of like the love that they put to the art. Like it's
Mm,
always really exciting when you get someplace and you have your art and you install it and like the people that brought you there make it even better than you could imagine.
yeah.
So that was definitely one of those projects. So
That's so
that was
cool.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, I, the other travel I've gotten to do, this is completely random, but I was on The Amazing Race. It's like a reality
Yeah,
show
yeah,
where
I
you
know.
travel
I saw it on your
cities.
Instagram. I'm like, I have to ask her about that.
It had nothing to do with my crochet. I met the host at a sushi restaurant, like no crochet related, but I did get to travel because of that too.
That's how long was that? Like the
It
taping
was
of it and all that.
a month of being away from everything, your
Mm,
family, your phone, your computer. It's actually very relaxing. I don't think I'll ever get that experience again where you can like totally unplug.
yeah.
Uh, but it was also very stressful. So
Yeah, I feel like being on a reality show, like an elimination reality show is like the hardest thing ever to your entire like psyche. I don't know about you, but I don't know. I don't think I could handle it.
Yeah. And everybody, if you like watch the season, they'll have like a crocheted hat or like randomly a crocheted
Oh, that's
scarf.
hilarious.
But I had to ditch the yarn like episode 6. Things got
Oh,
very serious.
what do you
So the
mean?
yarn
Like,
had to go. Oh my gosh, it's just like you want to win and like your backpack needs to be as light as possible. The yarn was like
oh,
I was like taking projects out and like remaking things at the airports and it was like I was done.
no, yeah. Oh my God, that's great. Where were you for the, like, what country were you traveling through?
Oh my gosh, everywhere. Started in LA, but went to like Brazil, Vietnam, Norway,
Oh,
Italy, Africa, to Tanzania and Zanzibar, like crazy spots
oh my
that I
God, that's
never
like insane
did.
travel. Yeah.
Insane travel. You aren't even on a time zone like at that point. But it was a great experience.
Yeah. Like while you were doing it, how was your mental health while you're doing it? I seriously wonder about this on when people are on a reality show.
It's like I'm not one to get homesick, and I had never felt like so kind of like lonely. I was
Yeah,
homesick a
yeah.
bit. It's like you're relying on yourself in these situations. There's no one to just kind of like vent to.
Mm-hmm.
And as it goes on, you do get so tunnel visioned in things. But the people that you're traveling with, or like I think in any of the shows are with, becomes like your family. Like the relationships you form through these
Mm-hmm.
experiences are so like you can't be anything but yourself that you really get to meet great people that uh, I mean, the cast I was with looked like a reality show cast, like
Yeah, yeah.
everyone from all over. And it's really cool to get to meet them. But mentally, it's everything you think it'd be.
Yeah. Just crazy challenging and stressful. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Cannot imagine. Okay, so back to, I guess, I'm really curious about like when you're working with a corporate client, um, the creative process with that. Do they come to you with an idea fully formed, or are they like, we love your crochet work. We've seen you do these different projects with other companies. We have this project. What would you propose? Or is it like they have ideas?
it it goes either way. Sometimes, I mean, I love it when someone will come to me with an exact idea, exactly what they want. I would say that's more unusual.
Mm-hmm.
But the crocheted billboard was exactly that. Like they brought me a design
Oh,
and were like,
okay.
"Can you make this?" So usually though, they'll give me a general idea of what they're looking for. And then I have gotten pretty good at like, I sketch on my phone. I'll sketch
Okay.
up a bunch of like a few different ideas as a starting point, and then we work from there in sketches until we figure out what they want. And then I begin the crochet.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, but there's so much trial and error, like to figure out maybe somebody needs like 1,000 snowflakes. It almost takes more time to figure out one perfect snowflake
Mhm.
exactly how I want than to like do the actual like 1,000 other ones.
Right,
So
right.
it's a process. It takes time, but I enjoy it.
Yeah. Do you have people working with you, or is it just you right now?
It depends on the project. So if it's like a something that requires a lot of hands with a quick turnaround, absolutely, I will get girls and sometimes guys to help me crochet. I'll, if I need 1,000 snowflakes and I know how to make the one now exactly how I want, I can
Right,
tell
right.
them what I need. So generally it's like that. And then I'll piece everything together. But all my street art, all of my like art that I do for fun on the street is always just me.
Just you, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So what is the split for you now? Like, as far as like what the projects you're working on for clients and the street art portion. How are you like sort of splitting your time?
It's it's strange, I guess. I don't really have an exact I'm looking at like my board of projects over there. I don't really have an exact like way to do it. It's really like priority of timing, I guess. So if something has to get done for a client, obviously that will be top priority. I won't be doing anything for fun.
Hmm.
And then once that's out and maybe I have a little bit of leeway time in the middle of the week, I'll work on some stuff for fun here. But then, as you know, it's like if my whole day was 12 hours of crocheting every day, it wouldn't be my full time job because there's so much that goes into the emailing and the
Right.
accounting and the planning and doing decks and proposals. And so my day's mix of all those things.
Yeah, yeah. You recently came out with your own brand of Lion Brand yarn or your own
I
line of Lion
did.
Brand yarn? Yeah, how did that happen? That's so cool. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's so awesome because I love the yarn, like, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's perfect for yarn bombing. Lion Brand came to me with the idea to do some like projects and just patterns and box sets of different yarn,
Mhm.
and it kind of expanded from there. So there's a bunch of yarn that's great for indoor and outdoor projects. It's all acrylic yarn because that's what's best for yarn bombing,
Right.
and it's bright colors and it's really fun to mix and match. The part that I am so excited about is my crochet hook. Here's one in the packaging,
Oh,
but
awesome.
I developed these crochet hooks. I set it up next to my
Mhm.
computer. So I have a 3D printer, but I use 3D printing to like combine all the best features of a big crochet hook. Cause with the girls that would crochet for me, it would always be really clunky. Like there were
Yes.
never good hooks out there. So I shortened the stem, added the pointed tip, like added this twist. And it's truly like
That's super
the
cool.
best big hook. And so this one's 3D printed. So I
Mhm.
got a patent recently
Ah,
for the twist.
yay.
And it took 2 years. It was a big process, but super, super fun to
That's
do.
amazing. Congratulations. That's
Um,
like one of those things that it's like it feels so daunting and you just, you take it step by step and then like, but look at what you have at the end of it. It's so amazing.
so amazing. And yeah, it's so cool. But this is kind of cool. This is one that failed of a
Yeah.
3D print. So it's just like fun, whatever happens. But yeah, that was an awesome process. And I'm really happy that like the yarn and the hooks with Lion Brand now also can kind of continue on a more like everybody can get them because the 3D hooks are more of a one off.
Yeah, 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 of course. We have a bunch of 3D, a bunch. I think we have two 3D printers here because my husband is a crazy like tech nerd
No
guy,
way.
and yeah, but he just uses it for like random stuff around the house. Like he makes chip clips and like it's shit that like we lose game pieces from like Connect Four or whatever. So he'll make those, and like we haven't really figured out a real use for them, but
Yeah.
it's just fun to sit there and design stuff, and
Yeah. It's fun. It keeps the brain working in a different way.
yeah, totally. So what let me think. So it sounds like you're really creative in like a lot of ways, right? So what else other than fiber do you get like sort of geeked out on?
I do love like technology and doing things with like video editing and Photoshop and anything like computer savvy programming things I love.
Yeah. Oh, you
And
mentioned sketching on your phone. What program do you use to do that?
I use Paper 54. It's
Okay.
an app that's been around for a really long time, and I discovered it like because of working at Apple. They had it on all the test iPads there. It's just a great one because it makes everyone look like a really good drawer.
Cool. I'm gonna have to check it out. I always wonder
Definitely,
what
it
people are
takes some
using.
practice, but
Yeah.
yeah, that would be
Do
my.
you use like a stylus or you just like use your hand?
I use a stylus.
Okay. Cool.
And I have like three because I swear you'll use one for a little while and then the other one, it's like grass is always greener. It's like that stylus is better now. And
Oh,
then
right,
this is
right.
better.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Um, so actually, I wanted to go back to Oleg for a second. Have
Okay.
you spoken to her or met her again since that like Apple encounter?
Yes. Right after I met her, I like looked at her website, obviously, and emailed her saying I'm really fast at crocheting. If you ever need anybody to help you, I am down. And a couple months later, when I kind of it's after my 30-day challenge and all of that stuff had already started. Um, I like was her assistant on a project in Little Italy in New York.
Oh,
That was really fun.
awesome.
And I was dressed up in like one of the crocheted bodysuits that she makes,
Mm-hmm.
and like sat up on the top of a fence. So that was pretty sweet. And we've like I've worked for another time and then crossed paths a few times since.
Oh,
So
very
she's
cool.
definitely like my biggest inspiration on why I'm doing this. I wouldn't be doing this if I never met her.
Yeah, no, that's so amazing. So I'm going to tell you my Oleg story real quick.
Yeah.
So back in, I think it must have been 2011. Yeah, it was definitely 2011. Um, the spring. And I know this because, okay, so I used to work in the museum field, and I did PR for museums and cultural institutions. And so like one of my colleagues sent an email out to everyone and was like, hey, does anybody want to volunteer for this Oleg project? And I didn't even know who she was either at the time, but I was like, oh, this might be cool. Whatever, I'll take a day. And my boss was fine with it. And so I ended up being one of the like people who like walks around in the crochet outfit. But it's so funny because the reason I remember like exactly the timing is because the morning of it. The morning of it, I was living in Jersey City at the time, and I had to take the bus, I think, into Port Authority because we had to meet in Times Square. And I was like violently ill, and I was like, but I have to do this because I felt like she was depending on me, and like, I don't know. I mean, there was like a bunch of people. There was maybe 10 of us walking around in these suits, and like we had to hold these poster boards and stuff. But anyway, I was like throwing up at the Port Authority like bathroom, and yeah, it was terrible. And I just like suffered through the day. I was like just like sweating and felt sick the entire time, and was walking around, and it was hot out. And plus you're wearing a crochet outfit, right? And it turns out I was pregnant. And that's like, I didn't know. I just thought I was like really ill and whatever. But that was the day. And I remember also thinking I looked like I felt a little fat in the suit. But that was the first time, like the day after I took a test. And I was like, oh, that's what happened.
That's why. And now you will forever remember exactly.
Yes. So crazy. Yeah. So I worked with her on like for 2 days being like a person in a suit. It was a very interesting experience.
Yes.
Yeah. I will say the one mistake I made was I don't know why, but I was wearing a nude color thong underneath, like not realizing how exposed my ass was.
Oh yeah.
Like pretty exposed.
I wore pants, but it was also like in the middle of winter when I did it. So I
was like naked underneath. What was I thinking? Like standing in Times Square where there were little kids like walking around.
They don't know though, but it just feels.
Yeah, now that I look back, I'm like, oh, that was a really bad choice.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, so that was my fun Oleg story.
Nice.
Yeah. So when you think about like how far you've come in this art and in your practice and in this business, what would you love to see happen in your near future?
Every day right now is like a roller coaster, I would say. So I think it would be really nice to start to have it be a little more consistent with what I'm doing, be able to find some more consistency and gain a little more, I don't know, just peace. Because right now I get anxious because you don't know what's going to come from project to project or what's going to come next. Right. So I think that would be like a really nice goal, how to do that. You know, I have tons of ideas and hopefully.
Yeah. Well, and it seems like the Lion Brand thing is one of those kinds of things where you can have something stable coming out. I mean, I don't know what your deal is or whatever with them financially, but it's one of those things that I hope you're scaling with them and, you know, somehow.
Like that is exactly the sort of thing that just like, will make it so I don't have to feel like I'm just like pulling at strings all the time. Yeah. But sometimes if you're giving it your hustle and doing things like that, like maybe that's why it's happening.
Yeah,
so I get too complacent and chill. So finding that balance.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard as an artist and as a creative person in general. Just, I think all of us are kind of scared about the next steps. And even when things feel great and successful, like I feel great right now, but I'm always constantly thinking about the next couple of years and how fast things change and how fast tastes change. And it's definitely one of those things I think we all kind of struggle with. But I hope putting it out there helps us manifest something for you that, you know, the next big project comes along. And because your work is super awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So fun. And you talk about Instagram a lot and the way that people share and now can see it all. And that is just such a great platform, I think, for all the fiber art.
Yeah, same here.
There's just so much So it keeps pushing you.
Yeah, definitely. What would you like? What do you consider? What would you consider like your next dream commission? If you could have like your pick of any client to choose, or any project, or any space, what would you want to do?
I think it'd be really cool to do like an album cover for a musician.
Ooh, that'd be so
I think
fun.
Yeah, I think that would be an exciting one. I always say like covering the Hollywood sign in crochet or the Statue of Liberty, like some giant thing. But permission for those things, when I've Googled it, seems a little tricky.
Yeah,
Um,
the Hollywood sign. That'd be amazing, but they don't let anyone near it. They have people like
no,
patrolling, like helicopters patrolling every day, right? Like to make sure there's no one touching it.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
I've tried to like figure out ways. I've emailed like different like members of the LA like governing
Yeah.
board of that area, and no luck
No
yet.
luck.
But
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
one day.
So speaking of, so you're in LA now, and you so
Yeah.
you moved from New York. What made you move?
Um, there were a lot of different reasons. I was there for 10 years, so I always said like I want to come back here. My family's here. I kind of had like the similar thing maybe to a lot of people. The landlord sold our building, raised
Uh,
the rent 3 times, gave us a few months to move. So that kind of happened, me wanting to go back, and it was just the perfect storm. So
yeah.
I- I'm happy. It's definitely an adjustment though. I go back and forth between New York and here. I'm like, I'll be in New York at least maybe once a month, once every other
Oh, that's
month.
good.
So
That's a good balance
yeah,
then. Yeah.
yeah,
You're
I'm
essentially
not.
bi-coastal.
Yes, that was the goal. It's a lot harder to do than I thought. Um, but yeah, that's what I'm trying.
Yeah, definitely. What do you feel like? So you've been doing this, let's see, about
Yeah.
6 years. Um, is there anything that you feel like you've uh sort of learned, maybe not even necessarily in crochet and fiber art and whatever, but just kind of in life, that like, is there anything you've learned that you used to think very differently about, that you have kind of changed your mind about, or just what is like something big that you feel like you've learned in this process?
Oh, that's such a good question.
It's so broad.
One,
Sorry. It's like,
yeah, no, no. There's a few things that come to mind. Like one of them, the project takes however long you have. Like I
yeah,
find with things, if it has to be done by a certain time, you're gonna figure it out and get it done by that time.
yeah,
So that brings me a little bit of like a calming feeling when times get really difficult if I'm working under a tight deadline. Another big lesson I've learned that I still work on every day is asking for help. I
mm,
did not think I was a perfectionist before going into this. But now I've realized I do like things to look a certain way and done a certain way. So asking for help sometimes isn't the easiest, but
yeah,
it's necessary. If I don't know everything, I need help sometimes. Like everybody needs help sometimes, and it's okay to ask.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
so that would be
I know
another
it's
big
hard to
one.
do. Like I have a hard time doing that. And even delegating, even within a project, I think probably delegating
Yeah.
is a little bit hard, and trusting that the product is going to turn out the way that you envision it. And but that's one of those things with fiber art in particular, that like you sure you could do it all by yourself if you had a year per project, but it's like
Oh yeah.
I'm sure, I mean, sometimes your projects are probably what, like where you have just a few weeks, or not even that sometimes to get it done.
Exactly. There was one project I did a school bus for a Gap commercial. That like again, coming through my email inbox, like, whoa, of course you say yes. But I had never done that before. I ran into so many roadblocks,
Oh my
like ended
gosh.
up spending so much more on certain things just because I had never done it. And with such a tight timeline, it's like you have to act like I had to get other people involved.
Yeah. How long did you, from the point where they emailed you to like where you needed to have it executed and done, how long did you have?
I want to say like 2.5 weeks, which
What?
sounds, I was about to say, which sounds maybe like a long time. Okay, no.
No.
Because that was like measuring the school bus, which I had to do out like by the airport, JFK, and like So I had to measure a school bus and then getting yarn for these large projects. Like you can't, when I did the crochet
Yeah.
billboard, I thought I could go to Michael's. That I was
Oh,
out of my mind. So
and then you like quadruple the price to quote them. Like, yeah, no, that's not happening.
I was crazy. So Lion Brand has been an amazing partner because of things like that. But like, so
Yeah.
I go to measure the school bus out by JFK. Then I go to the Lion Brand outlet in New Jersey and like load up the Uber with like yarn that
Oh
I
my
need.
God.
We have to take it out of boxes and like stuff it in the trunk to
Yeah,
fit the
yeah,
yarn.
yeah, I know.
Like, and then like breaking down the parts of the school bus to then delegate to the people. Oh my gosh. Then piecing it together. It's just like, it's a process. So to have people help with the actual crochet is,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, some of these wouldn't get done without them.
I'm sure. And how do you find people to reach out to hire and help?
It's, I mean, the knitting and crochet community is amazing. Like
Yeah,
to get paid and
Instagram.
watch Netflix. Yeah. So like at one point I put out an ad on Instagram and I'll like collect names. People, I see girls like crocheting on the subway and I'll be like, hey, you want to crochet?
That's awesome.
Uh, so I like have just lists. I have a great team in LA now that I can call on if I need. I have a great team in New York. Um, so yeah, it's nice to have people that you can trust, but it is still hard sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's all a learning process, really.
Hmm.
Right now, when companies or even like institutional clients, if they want to reach out to you, is it all directly to you, or do you have someone who sort of manages that?
For a while, when I lived in New York, my sister worked for me, and she would do a lot of that. But I've had like other assistants throughout time, but I do it all myself right now. So
It's a lot, girl. I
it's a
know.
lot.
It is. It's a lot. Do you find time for other things in your life right now? Like, do you have any like daily rituals or habits that are sort of that you have to do every day? Like, for example, I don't know, I have to do yoga like twice a week at least, or I kind of feel uncentered.
Yes, I grew, as we talked about earlier, grew up doing ballet. So I take ballet on Saturdays.
Oh, that's great
Great.
that you're still doing it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's like going into a ballet class. It's just like, okay, I know what to do here.
Yeah.
It's all like muscle memory. It comes back. And so that's a great kind of thing. I do. Have you heard of the Artist Way? It's like a kind of a workbook. It's a 12-week course thing, and it gives
Yes.
you different exercises. So one of the practices in that is morning pages, where you just write on paper all the things going through your mind and let those anxieties out so then you don't have to think about them the rest of the day.
Yeah. Is
So
that Stephen Pressfield?
it
Am I
is
making that
like
up?
her name's Julia
Oh, okay.
something.
Okay.
And I can't believe I don't remember her last name right now. But yeah, it's morning pages I try to do. Sometimes I don't. Uh, but yeah, that's a great morning practice. I try to run outside. I got to get outside sometimes.
Well,
Go to
yeah.
dinner with friends. Like, yeah, so that I have the balance. But I did it when I was working a full-time job
Right.
and did this. So sometimes I'm like, at least I have all this time and it's all crochet now.
Right, right. Isn't it interesting to think about like the drive and the obsession when you're in that stage in life? Like when you were doing the two job thing. I think back
That
then and I'm like,
it
how did I
it
do that? You know, it's like but there's something in you. There's like this engine that just kind of keeps you going and you don't even pay attention to like I don't even like your physical stuff goes by the wayside too. You like ignore how you're feeling physically and you just like work.
Oh yeah, tunnel vision. It's crazy. And for some reason also at those times sometimes I was very creative. Like
Yeah.
now sometimes it's hard for me to like think of like, all right, what's the next yarn bomb I want to do because now that's like taking time away from the
Yeah.
actual paid work. So I
Yeah.
don't want to spend time making a yarn bomb that's like not going to be that great. It's got to
Right,
be,
right. No, no,
So
totally.
back then it was just like one thing to the next and yeah, it's a different stage, but I love this place that I'm at. I'm so
Yeah.
happy to be here.
There is this weird thing like you feel the need to keep tapping yourself, right? Like especially with your personal creative projects that like yeah, like that it's not worth doing if it's not going to be like super wow.
Right, which is so silly at the same time, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's like I like though to keep learning and improving my skills. Like YouTube is so amazing. I use, like I mentioned, like all single crochet stitches for
Hmm.
mostly everything I do, but sometimes when I like crochet, I just learned to crochet a flower crown.
Hmm. Oh, cool.
Watch a 2 hour YouTube video with like a teeny tiny hook, and like that stuff is fun sometimes too,
Yeah, definitely.
uh, to do. So just switching it up.
Cool. Is there anything you have coming up, like projects that you're working on that you wanted to talk about? Let the people know
I
about?
have a book coming out in September.
That's
Yeah,
amazing. Congratulations. What's the title?
thank you. Uh, Crochet with London K.
Oh, cool. So it's like a instructional kind of book?
It's half and half. So half is super simple projects like learning to crochet the alphabet, learning to crochet shapes, like really basic things.
Okay.
Some really fun like yarn bombing patterns, like crocheting like a tree wrap and things like that.
Nice.
And then the other half is like inspiration photos from my past work with the stories behind each piece.
Oh, that's
So
so cool.
it it was I didn't expect that part to be such an enjoyable process, or I knew it would be enjoyable but not as enjoyable, like really thinking back to some of these pieces and like where I was in my life when I made them
Hmm.
and what kind of was the reason for creating that. It was like very therapeutic. I had never even thought about a lot of that stuff. So
Oh, I
it's a
bet.
really I really love both sections, but that part in particular, even if the other part wasn't there, I'd say is worth buying the book.
Yeah, no,
So,
that's so cool. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's true. Like being able to have something that's forcing you to think about the projects you've done in the past. It's like it's almost a spiritual thing. Like where
oh,
was I then in my life, and how far have I come, and what's been going on in my head the whole time? It's really cool.
yeah, it was really exciting. And on the cup, I guess it's confirmed. But I there's a sneaker pattern in the book, like how to crochet sneakers, because
Oh, that's
that's one
so
of the things
cool.
I've been doing for so long. So yeah, like Converse sneakers, you can like cover them in crochet. So
Oh,
that's
that's
going to be a fun
awesome.
pattern.
Fun. So is the book done and you're just sort of waiting on edits and stuff? Or are you still working on it?
Done. I'm so excited. Everything's in. It comes out in September, and yeah. So that was like it's like a long process, as I'm
Yeah.
sure you know. Like
I have
just
no idea,
the
actually. Tell me.
it started like over a year ago now. So
Okay.
just like it's very well organized. Like you need all your words in by this date. You need all
Right.
your photos in by this date. And I work very well with like that sort of outline. I don't like
Right.
when things are like, you can do it however you want, get me at any time. Okay.
Right. You need
I
structure.
I need structure. So it was like such a great process because of that. And yeah, it was fun.
So did the publisher reach out to you with an idea in mind already, or how did it come about?
It they reached out with me like with like a vague like a kind of a outline of what they were thinking, but
Hmm.
when it comes to like the projects that I did, the photos that I wanted in it, the way that I wrote the introduction, like that was all me. So
Yeah.
I do think they came to me with like photos and patterns, but everything like filling all from that in was all me.
Oh,
But I
cool.
trust them too. Like with certain choices, I'm like, okay, they've done this a lot. Let me
Yeah.
just
Who's the
be like,
publisher?
yep, Abrams.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Oh, they're so good at
Yeah,
they're so good at
they're
doing these
so
books.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so good. So that's why some of those choices, if I don't know, I'm like, yeah, we'll go with
Yeah.
what you say.
So, do you, for the photos of past projects, did you already have like you had available photos that were, that were well photographed?
These iPhones are insane. Like I
That's
can't believe
amazing
it.
that you can use iPhone photos on it. That's awesome.
So not for the actual book, like
Okay.
not the products and stuff. All the photos I took with the photographer for the book, like the first part, are
Hmm.
all in like highest quality
Okay.
ever. And then the ones in the back, I got highest quality photos for everything, but there are a few of them. that are iPhone photos. I would say they're the ones within like the last 2 years on the
Right.
iPhone though.
Oh, right,
So
right,
not
right.
like way back.
Yeah.
But some of the ones on the iPhone worked, like quality
Amazing.
checked out. So that was really lucky. But that's part of it, like getting permission from each person that took a photo to be able to be used. Like
All right.
um, you have to make sure you have all that for each image. So that was a process, but they gave me a deadline and forced me to get it done. So
Yeah. So all said and done, I mean, it took a year.
I would say it took
Yeah.
a year. Yeah. There's
Okay.
still like little things that we're doing back and forth, but yeah, it took about a
That's
year.
so awesome. So when is it going to be released? Do you have like a launch
September
date?
17th.
Okay. Yay. Hear that, everyone? September 17th. Crochet with London?
I know.
Is that what it's called?
Crochet with London
Crochet.
Kaye.
Okay.
I
Awesome.
like want to check. Yeah, Crochet with London Kaye.
Okay. Awesome. Are you going to have pre-orders up or how does that work?
I don't think so. I
No.
think it's
Okay.
just going to be available
No.
when
Okay.
it's for sale.
On
It's not up for
Amazon.
pre-order yet.
Okay.
Yeah, Amazon and Barnes and Noble for sure, and then hopefully a million other places, but I don't know yet.
That's awesome. Yay, I'm so excited for you. And I'm definitely going to grab a
Thank
copy.
you.
It sounds really fun and interesting and and I need to learn more crochet projects because the only thing I know and the only thing I keep doing lately is like baskets. I don't know why, but I'm obsessed with making baskets.
That's a great project.
Yeah, no, they're fun because like the kind of fiber that I sell it just ends up lending itself to it because it's not wool, it's cotton. It's either cotton or rope. So like I'll end up making rope baskets. I don't know.
That's amazing. That needs to be like my next, like, not a flower crown, but a basket
Yeah.
project. That's so cool.
Nice. So let's see. I want to see if I have some trivia questions for you. What do you do while you're working? Like, do you listen to stuff? Do you listen to podcasts or watch shows or listen to music?
I have an OK Google, which is probably going to go off since I said it. So I listen to music sometimes. I listen to podcasts rarely because I lose my train of thought. I'll
Mm,
find myself like caught up in the crochet
hmm.
and miss like 2 minutes of what they're saying.
Right.
But sometimes I'll listen to like the daily podcast. I listen to you when I drive.
Oh,
Um,
thanks.
because it requires like I want to like make sure I get every word.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but I'm a big Netflix watcher. I
yeah.
gotta say, if I need to knock out like a big crocheted whale, or whatever, yeah, finding a good season of something is always great. But it can't be like Game of Thrones. That's too complicated.
No, 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 no,
Something
no. Yeah,
it
Game of
needs
Thrones
to be
requires
like
like your whole attention to understand the full
full.
story. Yeah.
Exactly. So it does have to be something that I don't really care about, but keeps my attention on some level. So
Yes. You know what's really
yeah.
good? My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Do you watch that?
Oh yeah.
Oh
I
my God, it's
haven't.
so good.
I've seen some of the first season. See, this is great. I'll add it to my list. That's
Add
a
it to your
perfect
list.
show for
It's
this.
freaking
Hmm.
brilliant. It's brilliant. It almost and it no and like it kind of like it would be great if you were watching it because she does those dance numbers and stuff.
Yep,
But they're also just
exactly.
great songs. So you don't actually have to watch. It's good to listen to while you're working.
Yeah. And I don't, yeah, we don't need to, I don't need to look sometimes. I can just feel. Another good thing, actually, I like talking on the phone when I'm crocheting.
Oh,
It's a good
really?
time to like call and check in with people and like
That's
keep,
amazing. That how 80s of you. No, 90s of you. I don't
I
talk to
guess, I
anyone
put
on
it
the
on
phone anymore.
speakerphone.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I have like even my best friends, we never talk on the phone. It's like
Yeah,
texting only, you know? I don't know. That's awesome. You still have friends that will talk to you.
yeah, it's true. It's very lucky. Also, a lot of times it's like my mom or my dad or my
Oh, that's
sister.
awesome.
But
Are they also in LA or is everyone kind of spread out?
they are. My sister and I actually lived together in New York for the last 2 years we were there. So we both moved back to LA at the same time. And I come from like a super artsy family. My mom's was my dance teacher. She's like an artist.
Oh,
My dad's a
wow.
children's writer
Oh,
and for like
wow.
scripts and TV. And my sister's an actress and stand-up comedian. So we all do
Cool
lots of things.
family. What kind of artist is your mom?
she has done it all. Like now she does a lot of like graphic art, graphic design art on an iPad actually. But she painted for years and years. She's used like oil and watercolors and anything and everything. She's so artsy and crafty. So she definitely inspired me in a way. She's learned to crochet now.
Oh, she didn't know before?
No, so she like has helped me on projects too. She did like a piece of the billboard and certain things.
That's so awesome. All right, well, thank you again. Cool. I'm excited to see what comes next for you.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Check the show notes of each episode to get the website and Instagram for each of the fiber artists I speak with. Be sure to give them a follow. And you can view video from this podcast on niromastudio.com/thefiberartistpodcast. If you enjoy the Fiber Artist Podcast, go to Apple Podcasts to subscribe, rate, and review. Thank you for listening.